What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Candid with Candia podcast. My name is Robert Candia, and I have an exciting treat for you guys today. Today we have Kause in the building, a good friend of mine, Tristan Garcia. Tristan, what's going on, man?
Hello, y'all. How we doing? Yes, my name is Kause. I am a producer based out of San Antonio, Texas. I actually went to school with Bobby many moons ago. Just kidding, wasn't that long ago. But
You're gonna show my age right now, bro.
No, but I'm happy to be back, or not be back, but be on the podcast with you, and I'm looking forward to sharing some insight on it. I've actually peeped a couple of clips on your Instagram too, so I really liked it. I really liked a lot of the honesty and stuff that comes from this podcast. So
and that's the point, man. Like the point of the podcast, I talked about it, in the first episode is to be real. I mean, we're gonna be candid, and we're gonna have conversations about the hard times that we go through when striving for success, and we're also gonna see what it looks like overcoming those hard times.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure, especially everything that you've gone through to get where you're at right now, you still got a lot of fuel in the tank. I'm sure you do. But I know there's definitely some stories that you can help share with other people who are going through the same thing or trying to achieve, what you've achieved or accomplished.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your backstory. Tell us a little bit about where you come from, and what led you to where you're at right now.
Of course. So as I said earlier, went to UTSA. During that time, I wasn't really into the rave scene. I think it wasn't until I met Jesse, or one of our friends, who kind of introduced me into the electronic music scene. And at that time, I was just a bystander. I really liked going to shows. I felt a connection with people that I met at shows. I felt the whole vibe was completely different than what you would get like at a rap concert or something. A lot of the people, they were more genuine and just there to have a good time. And I definitely felt a love for that type of music. So then I guess as the years went on, I just started experimenting with different genres, more so of like the harder type genre, which would be, I guess, dubstep or trap in my case. So I guess as far as the whole DJing and everything went, I was like I said, I was a bystander, and at the time I was like, okay, like these drops are cool. Like I liked how they transitioned from this song to this song, but then it just like irked me. I was like, man, like I wonder what it would sound like if this song was played instead. So I kind of just was like, I asked my parents if they could get me like a little controller for Christmas, just something super cheap. And then I just started DJing, and then my girlfriend right now, she would see all the frustration that went into it, because I was like, damn, like I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make it sound clean or whatever. And it was just a bunch of practice and consistency. And overall, it was a bunch of headaches. It definitely didn't happen over time with the whole DJing stuff. But once I started getting the hang of that, I felt a greater need to start making music. And I think making music was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do, because I have no musical background, for one, and a lot of my older projects, you can hear that. So one, no musical background. Two, I don't even know what to use to make music yet at the time. And then three was, I was more so in my head like, oh shoot, like is this even gonna sound good? Like, would this even capture anybody's attention?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, because that's the same thing that I go through with this podcast. Mm-hmm. As we were creating this podcast, that doubt kind of creeps into your mind, and then you start wondering, like, is this even going to get the point across? Is this going to help an individual? Is this going to help a group of people? Like, are people going to like the content?
Yeah.
And then you kind of start psyching yourself out, and I know exactly what you're going through. One thing that you said that was really interesting was that you had no musical background. So this isn't something that you grew up doing, that you didn't study for. How did you learn?
So originally I guess the only musical background I had was playing the drums, but really not too much of a key. You're not getting different chords or anything from the drums. Just
started banging stuff.
Yeah. You're just getting a little beat. So I had an idea of a concept of beat matching, or just getting a decent beat going, but as far as chords go, I actually picked up a guitar for a little bit, but at the same time, I knew the chords, but I didn't know the like keys. I didn't know like what chords fit with specific keys. So that was another thing. I could play chords, but if you were to tell me, hey, play it in this key, I'd be like, I don't know how. so that was another thing. So, I mean, learning just how anybody else would learn. You either get someone to mentor you or you use Google.
So I'm assuming you did a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, yeah. One of my friends actually who got me into producing, Jaden Carr, if you're listening to this or watching this, shout out to you. He actually like was really good at piano, and he would kind of help me with chords or tell me like, hey, like this is a little bit out of key. You might want to like turn it up or turn it down a couple semitones or whatever. So he's the one that helped me a lot. And as far as that, it was more so just practicing keys and chords and seeing what fits in what I'm trying to make. And then if I had any doubt, just Google everything. And even to this day, if there's something I don't know how to write, I'll have a little Google spreadsheet on the corner of my PC, and it shows me every key. And I'm like, okay, like this is why it's sounding a little off. So it's just little things like that. And if you can find ways to work around things you're not too sure of, then Google. Yeah. Google everything, you know.
So arguably, everything was self-taught.
Yeah, for sure.
With help of, you know, someone that you looked up to. What was it like, you know, you started making music and you kind of found that passion for it. When you made your first track, and I mean, let's go back a little bit. You made your first track. Did you like it or did you hate it?
At the time for when I first started, I loved it.
Okay.
You know, it was my baby. It was so they're called reference tracks. So reference track is like a track that you have an idea of what you want to make, so you kind of just pinpoint like, hey, this is when the build starts. This is what it sounds like going into the build. So I use reference tracks to like make anything I want to make. At the time, I made the track and I was like, okay, you know, this sounds pretty similar to it. I like it a lot. And I remember just working on it countless days and nights, like 8 hours a day. And I thought at the time it was like the best thing I've ever made, because it was the only thing I've ever made.
That's awesome.
And then you actually reposted it on, or you put it on your little story.
That was it?
Yeah, that was the first one I ever made.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah. That's arguably one of my favorites.
Oh, that's
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah. So that was my first one I ever made.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I was going to tell you earlier before we started filming, but this is something I kind of wanted to wait until we were actually filming. I remember I was already graduated and we went to Orchid Ball, and there was your DJ set was up, and I don't know if like you had already really started producing or what, but you were kind of DJing in the house that we were at, and I remember like hearing you, and I think it was one day I woke up or something, and I was like, dude, this is a banger. And then I look out and you're DJing, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, that was really, really cool. And that right there was kind of like my first initial, like, dude, this kid can go somewhere. Like, he's pretty good at it. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I mean, that whole time was a blur. That whole time was a blur. So
no, I feel it. Yeah, you're right. I was the old guy at the time.
Yeah,
I was the old guy.
It's fine. I'm the old guy now.
But okay, so going back to kind of your career, and you know, you're teaching yourself, you're making tracks. What was kind of like your first breakthrough? Because I would arguably say you haven't had that absolute breakthrough yet. Like, you have so much more in the tank, and so much more that you can offer to people that like, and that's the point of the podcast, right? Is like, it's not people that have made it, right?
Right.
It's people that are going through it and striving to be better. So what would you say is like your first breakthrough?
My first breakthrough. Oh, so this was during 2020. By all means, I wouldn't say this is my breakthrough, but this is definitely something that made my project like grow like significantly. So I don't know if you're familiar with the DJ. His name's like Cision. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's basically like the Drake of the dubstep scene, whatever. And even more so EDM. He has his own. He has two of his own festivals. One's in Ohio, the other one's at the Gorge in Washington. So pretty big venues. And he started a record label in 2020, and my thoughts were like, okay, like I really want to get on this record label. Like this is something I like this artist a lot. I want to be on this record label, and I can consider that a huge win for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember Bad Intentions is with my friend George Toscano. At the time, I was still a beginning producer, and he helped guide me through the track. And I know he wanted to write majority of the track, and I said, okay, that's fine, but like I want to write the second drop. Like that's something I have an idea for the second drop. So we ended up writing the whole thing, and it ended up being one of my biggest songs right now. It just hit 100K.
That's awesome,
yeah,
dude.
so
congratulations.
So I was like super stoked about it, and we finished the track. We sent it out to a bunch of labels, and nonstop, like we just got. I mean, it's gonna be being real. Denied. So like we're going through every single label we went through, and we getting all these emails saying that they're not interested, or not accepting. So like at the time, we're like, okay, it's whatever. We'll just self-release it. Nothing bad with self-releasing. And I remember this day, and I like love my friends for it. I'm in this big group chat with all my EDM friends and even my best friends to this day. And I get fucking, I don't remember. Sorry for cursing. It was like at,
You're good.
It was like 9.
We're being candid.
Yeah,
We're being candid.
It was like 9 a.m. And it's this group chat. I'm probably hungover or something. And I get a call. I open it, and it's all my friends on the group on the FaceTime. And I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's good." And they're like asking me like, "Has Bad Intentions got signed yet?" And I was like, "Oh, no, it's been turned down by everything." And I see like Priscilla, my girlfriend, like in the corner with her phone, like peeking at me, and I was like, "What the hell?" And they go, "Oh, well, guess what?" And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, it got signed to Subsidia, which is Excision's label." So like I started like crying. I was like, no way. And they're like all like hyping me up and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Like this is like a dream come true. And from then on, they do a really good promo for their artists that they signed to their label. So like out of nowhere, I'm just getting a bunch of followers, and like all my other platforms are starting to get like recognition. So I would say that would probably be my first breakthrough.
That's awesome, man.
Or like kickstarting my project.
Yeah, overall. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something worth fighting for.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, when you're getting all of these rejections, right?
Right.
And it's just coming left and right, and you think this is your masterpiece. This is your masterpiece.
Right.
How do you deal with those rejections?
So more so, I guess now, it's I'm always anticipating it. But definitely back then, you start to, when you're first getting like your rejection emails, you really start to question like, am I even making anything that's worth people listening to, or do people actually like me, or just all these questions just running through your head. And there's days where I'm just at my lowest, and I feel like I'm not gonna make anything good, but then, especially SoundCloud, you get to see comments of people, like live comments. And when I get people saying that they like my stuff, or even just random DMs, I remember 2020, when I first started kind of getting into the groove of music, and I didn't know if I was really that good or whatever, I got like a couple messages from people in Australia, like Europe, saying, "Hey man, I'm from here, like I really like your music. If you have anything you want to send me, like I would appreciate if you could, or like I'll buy any songs that you like have." So then it was just like little things like that out of the whole world, if there's one person rooting for me, then why stop, because that one person can turn to 2 to 10, and then where I am right now, not the biggest like fan base, but like still like a lot
of fan base.
Yeah, it's still a fan base where I can, not even like to sound like egotistical or whatever, but wherever I go in Texas, like if I go to a venue, like it's getting to the point where there's people that notice me, and they'll say hi, take a picture, and it's like it's cool, And at the same time, it's just little things like that remind me, hey, you're not having a lot of success right now, but don't let that hinder you from doing what you're doing,
Mm-hmm. So. And that in my first episode, I talk a lot about like the people that I'm going to bring on, and we have a lot of people that are trying to be on here. But when I was mentioning it, I talked about the reason why I'm going to bring these people on is one, so that our viewers can learn from you, but also so I can learn from you too. And that is something that kind of hit home with me, because when we released the first episode, I knew it was going to happen. Like, I knew there was going to be negative comments. I knew there was going to be people that would hate on it and stuff like that. And I was kind of preparing myself for it. But it seems like no amount of preparing you do for that will ever kind of soften the blow.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, the amount of positive comments severely outweigh the negative comments. But it could be 100 positive comments and that one negative comment. And I'm like, damn it. Yeah. Like, maybe I should switch this up, or maybe I should do this. And then you kind of have to ground yourself and be like, no, hold on. Exactly what you said. If there's one person out there, there's one person that's following you and believing in you, then why stop? Yeah. I think that's a really, really good way to look at it. So where are you at now as far as your career goes?
As where I'm at right now, it's definitely getting to the point where I'm not playing locally anymore. So I'm not playing in San Antonio as much. Dallas, Houston, Austin, those are obviously the main cities in Texas, and the venues of that scale are significantly bigger than the ones here. Mm-hmm. The biggest one I just played was in Austin. I think that was like a 5,000 cap venue. Whole thing was sold out. I was the opener, and the whole crowd was almost to the back of the venue, and I actually like cried halfway through my set because I was like, damn, like I really grinded to get here. And one of the song that was actually playing was one song that I made during COVID, and I still haven't released it yet, but it's one of my like favorite songs I've ever made. And it's like a heavy drop. The last drop's like very like happy, and the happy part came on, and I was just like looking at the crowd, and I was like, holy crap. Like, I was literally in my room in COVID, just sitting here making this song, and now I'm playing it for all these people. And I just remember crying, and I was like, holy cow. Like, just in my mind, I was like, this isn't real. This isn't real. But that's definitely like a key moment that I still hold to this day. So one segue I want to kind of go into real quick, because you keep mentioning it, and this is something that I've read about you too. I mean, we're great friends. Yeah.
But I still learn so much about you. Is your success started striving in a time where it shouldn't have. And what I mean by that is you started busting your ass during COVID, when people aren't meeting together, right. People are staying indoors, and you still found a way to kind of push through and make it happen. How did that play out?
It was, at that time I was very depressed. I was eating my life away. I was eating so much, like, just garbage food, My girlfriend and I weren't together at the time. School wasn't... I had to stay an extra semester for school. So I was just super bummed, and I was just thinking to myself, if nothing's going to go right for me, then let's try to make something go right for me. Let's learn something new. I've been grinding video games all day, from day in, day out. Like, what something positive I can do that I genuinely like just enjoy doing. Video games aside, no more competing. Like, let's start competing with myself, and let's step out of my comfort zone. And that's where the whole music thing came from. It was just, I had all the time in the world, so I had to make the most of it. And I was just countlessly, like I said, just trying to learn new things, learning keys, learning chords, and I feel like it was just me against me at that time, and I just tried to turn a negative to a positive, and I guess that's just where I am right now today. And with just learning how to get better and just listening to previous projects. I mean, even if I made something yesterday, I was always, hey, how can I make this next one today better than what I did yesterday? What can I add on to this song that is lacking from what I just heard, Mm-hmm. So just little things like that. I'm sorry if that didn't really answer your question.
No, it did. It did. And it's so funny, because a lot of the things that you're saying right now kind of, coincide with things that I've been talking about a lot. And one thing that I like to say that, I feel like a lot more people that have gone through what we've gone through, right? Just that depression, the anxiety, and trying to figure out what we're going to do and make an impact in this life. But another thing that I talk about is how to get out of that. And one thing was replacing bad habits with good habits. And you kind of hit it on the head there as to, I was eating my life away. I was playing video games all day, every day. And then you found something that made you happy. You hit the gym. You started doing, you started replacing those bad habits with those good habits. And then you kind of grew something out of that. You planted that seed, and then now comes this, ginormous, beautiful tree. Like, that's really inspiring to hear. Going back to like you having such a really hard time and then growing something beautifully out of this, like, where do you see the future of Cause and the music that you produce and stuff like that?
Right. This is always a like just upfront, like honest answer, and I don't know. I don't want it to be like stuck up or whatever, but I feel like the whole Cause project is just whatever comes from it. Realistically, and I've met a lot of artists that I've talked to, like that are actually like touring and up there. They always just being genuine people. This music stuff isn't really sustainable, like just like that. Like you can lose everything, and luckily for me, I have a passion for both medicine and music. So the way I see it right now, it's get my bag, do my medical stuff, and then whenever I have time, like focus on my Cause project, and that's been working for me so far. It gives me a good balance of, for sure, making money, and then putting some of that money towards my project to help enhance it and help it grow. And I think that for me, it works out because I know that if I was solely just focusing on my music, I would probably be stressing and in my head 10 times more than what I already am right now. Just the thought of, shoot, like, am I going to get these bookings? Like, if I don't get these bookings, I'm not going to have money to pay for rent or pay for all these other things,
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the way I see it right now. But a couple of years from now, I really want my project to hopefully be on a larger scale where I could start going to different states and cities to play shows. Ultimately, like, as far as the music goes, I've accommodated a pretty good amount of labels that from big artists that are all around the world, and I've signed to them. And for me personally, that's already a huge accomplishment that majority of people can't say. So that alone is already enough for me. But I think as far as the Cause project in general, I would like to start maybe just going to different cities and getting my face shown out a little bit more. Yeah. I think that's the real term of success in the EDM scene. Once you start getting those bookings for other people and being support for these big artists, I think that's where the, like, quote unquote success comes from.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the multitasking of, work life and DJing life, producing life.
Oh yeah.
But I want to ask a question because I saw this on your Snapchat during EDC. Uh-huh. Did I see it correctly that you were in this, in the crowd and they were playing one of your songs?
Yeah. So
how was that?
Crazy. My girlfriend. So obviously we're in Vegas, so we're already like tipsy. We're having a good time of our life. That was my first time ever there at EDC. I never really had intentions to go, but there was just something that told me, hey, like, you're gonna be starting school soon, like, might as well just go. You don't know if you're gonna have this opportunity. So I said, okay, let's do it. Bought the ticket, ended up there. We're already having a good time. My girlfriend and I were just chilling while these random people, and there's something that told me to pick up my phone. I'm just recording, and then I heard the build up for my song, and I was like, there's no way. And then when I heard it, we're both freaking out. We're like, oh my gosh, like, he's playing my song, blah blah blah, she's playing my song. So we're just going crazy, and in that moment just felt insane, like seeing thousands of people that you're in the crowd with,
and nobody knows. At this point, nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and we're just hyped up, and my girlfriend's telling everybody that's his song, and then everybody's coming up to me, giving me their, like, socials, and I'm like, they're following me, and that was just an unreal feeling that I still can't even fathom right now.
Still fresh.
Yeah, it's still fresh, but I guess going back to one of the questions where you feel like where that you're asking me how do I deal with negativity. That's a video I go back to whenever I'm feeling down. Like damn, like if my music can make an impact and make it to this scale of a festival, then like the sky's the limit, you know.
So you keep an archive.
I keep
positivity.
Yeah.
To kind of outweigh that negativity. I like that. That's a really good idea.
All the time. You know, and there's even times where I just go back to songs. I look at SoundCloud comments of people that actually enjoy my music. You know, it's just little things like that to keep your head level. Because you were saying it, you're always going to come across negativity, and I think what separates winners from losers is how you shape that negativity around like your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to sulk upon it, or are you actually going to be like, okay, well, that's just one negative comment. Like, I'm going to show them what I'm about.
Absolutely. So. And no, I love that mentality. Like, and here's the crazy thing too, is that a majority of the time we can predict the negativity and we can know where it's coming from. Like, like that's the crazy thing. When I release these episodes or when I release my videos, I can already expect that to kind of come my way. But the crazy thing is exactly the mentality that you were talking about is I'm going to use this as fuel. Like, I'm going to prove these people wrong. I'm going to show them exactly what I have to offer. And I really like that. I want to go back to, where you're working in the medical field, you're going to school, and you're working on your music. Like, how do you find the time for that?
It's not. I wouldn't say it's about finding the time. It's just about making the time. The time's always gonna be there, but it stops for nobody. So the day I played that big venue of 5,000 people, I had clocked out at 110 hours. But the biggest thing for me was just making sure I stick to my routine. At that time it was work. So work from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Go to the gym straight after. For at least 45 minutes to an hour. All right, it's already around 7:30. Okay, I know I have to be in bed by at least 10:45 latest. Mm-hmm. So eat real quick. It's already 8 p.m. All right, now it's time to grind on music or if I want to relax, play video games, Mm-hmm. But regardless, the schedule stays the same. Like I guess that's the part that stinks too is I used to be a big social bug. I loved going out, and that's where I feel like I had to cut back on, And my friends know. I told them it's no disrespect or no I'm not trying to avoid y'all. But now is the time where I want to focus on the things that I want to focus on, and I want to do the things that I want to do, mm-hmm. And I feel that real friends will accept that, and they won't try to stir you away from doing things that you genuinely love, And I lost a couple of friends from it, but I also did gain a lot of friends that had the same mindset as me, We'll all try to encourage each other. Hey, instead of going out, let's all hop on a Discord server together and let's all just work on music throughout the night, And then next week we can all try to go out, or next week we'll play video games together and stuff. So I feel like doing all that alone is a little hard, but when you have a support system that can help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, then that makes it a lot easier.
But that's the key factor in this situation is you made that adjustment, right? Like you had to make sacrifices for things that you love and things that you want to accomplish. I get that 100%. But exactly, and I was going to bring that up at the end, and I love that you hit the nail on the head, was, you created that environment for yourself. And even if you didn't create it, you found it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You found that group of people with the same mindset. Birds of a feather flock together, right? You're not going to be hanging out with people that are trying to pull you down. Like, I use the crabs in a bucket analogy all the time.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Nah.
Okay, so if you've ever seen crabs in a bucket, right? They're trying to reach, get out of the bucket. But the reason why these crabs can't get out of the bucket is because the crabs at the bottom of the bucket are grabbing them and pulling them back down. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that when everybody's, below you and wants to keep you down there. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know. I mean, there's so many reasons why they want to keep you down there. They want to spend more time with you. They don't want to see you succeed, whatever it may be. but you found that group of people with the same mentality, and now you guys are grinding together. I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
So kind of, it's sucks because I feel like we have so much more to talk about, and hopefully we can do an episode number 2.
Oh yeah.
Um,
For sure. For sure.
but I really love the mentality that you have, and going back to, something that you said that kind of really struck home with me is you don't find the time, you make the time, right? How important would you say it would be to time block your day?
Time block my day.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's pretty important, especially if you want to achieve certain things, especially in the music scene. You're not gonna make a bunch of music or heaters or learn new skills if you're out and about drinking or doing these things. This is something that actually takes time. It's something you actually have to grind for, and there's more than just music that goes into it. You have to do your branding, figuring out your style, your social media presence, like all these are all other things that account for your project. So it's more of like how serious you take your project. So if it's something that you just want to blow past, like, hey, like I'm just gonna stick to local shows and I don't have any interest to grow, then you don't have to time block, just do your thing. But
And there's nothing wrong with that.
no, absolutely not.
But it's not what you want.
No, yeah, for me it's I have to make certain decisions, and I genuinely love what I do enough to, regardless of what decisions I make, it's not gonna affect it's not gonna ruin my day. Like I know what I want to do. If I can't afford to go out with friends, I'm not gonna sulk about it. Like, oh, I have to do music. Like it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't hate what you're doing if you have a passion for it. Same
Absolutely.
thing about your job. Like if you don't like a job's a job, but a career is something that you like genuinely enjoy, and like you don't have to wake up every day like, oh, I have to go to work. Like it's if you found something that you love, you're not gonna be thinking that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's so crazy how the reality of time kind of shifts when you start doing things that you love. And the reason I'm saying that is because, when I find myself at my happiest, Mondays don't feel like Mondays.
Oh yeah.
Fridays don't feel like Fridays. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's just consistent.
It's just a consistent week. Exactly. Like I'm gonna act the exact same way on a Saturday that I do on a Monday, and a Wednesday that I do on a Friday. Like it just kind of all kind of comes together.
Absolutely.
And but no, I really really do enjoy the mentality, and I'm so glad that we brought you on because I know who you are as a person, and the information that you can give is something that I want everybody to learn from you, because it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
That's right.
Right. And I kind of want to touch a little bit. I was texting Brandon. I don't know if I was texting him yesterday or the day before, but the first episode really focused on the setback. And some people were like, man, they're like, it's really depressing, but other people were like, dude, I'm going through the same thing. And what I really want to focus on now is, now that everybody knows where I'm coming from, I want to talk about the comeback, right? And we want to focus on the comeback, because the setback is only a setback if you let it stay that. Like if you don't produce anything out of it, then it means nothing.
Right.
And that's why I really want to focus in on one more time, back in COVID. Like when you were at a very dark time, you didn't know what up and down was. Like what was your mentality to get yourself out of that situation?
Right.
Because it's so easy to stay in that situation. It's so easy to, shade out the blinds and watch Netflix and DoorDash and stay doing nothing. It's so easy to do that. How did you find the courage and the strength to get yourself out of that situation?
That's actually a good question. So at the time I was living with my family and two of my little sisters, and I have a lot to from my sisters in general. Knowing the state I was in, I was sulking and finding negative ways to cope, as I just mentioned. But I don't know. I remember I was going downstairs to go, probably to get another beer, to be honest. And then one of my little sisters said, "You're always in your room. Like you're always asleep all day. We never get to see you, blah blah blah. And then just something as simple as that. Like I love my sisters to death. Like there's nothing in the world, nothing I would never do for them. And that's when I started thinking. I was, what example am I setting for them? You know, and my parents were always trying to influence me to, get up and get going. But like their parents, like I think that in the back of my head was like, well,
that's their job.
Yeah, they're gonna love me regardless. But seeing it from my sister's standpoint, I was just thinking, man, what am I doing? Like what example am I setting for them to give up when you're not feeling well and stuff like that? So that's when I figured, okay, I can't go to the gym right now because COVID, but my family always knew me as like the little rock star or because of my DJing or of like a producer because I liked to make videos at the time when I was younger. So I was like, okay, like, let's learn something new. And I think that's what kicked me in the butt, was to just kind of prove to them that I can come out of this, and that if they ever felt the need that they were stuck somewhere, just to look at me, use me as a guide. My brother was feeling this way, but now look at him. He went from low as can be to how I am today. You know?
And happy and
oh yeah,
and moving forward. And
I'm happy. I promise. I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm a little tired. But
dude, aren't we all?
Yeah, I'm happy, but I'm a little tired. But that's at least
I love that, man, because like you really don't realize, like Tristan, when we were in college together, you and I were really good friends.
Oh yeah, the life of a party.
Absolutely, like we had a blast together, and yet there's still a side to you that I don't know, and what's even more strange is that side to you that I don't know is exactly who I was and what I went through. Like you and I went through almost the identical thing, and that's it. Kind of goes back to what you were saying about your sister, not wanting her to learn those bad habits from you. Is like, when things get dark, like what am I going to do? Just give up? And that's kind of like what the point of this podcast was, is I didn't have that when I was going through that. I kind of just had to yank myself out of that situation. But now that I'm out of that situation, now that I'm moving forward, it's like, okay, there's people that are going through what I've gone through. There's people that, there's a doctor that's sitting in his room right now, like not wanting to do anything, but he doesn't know that he's going to become a doctor yet. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just so much potential talent out there.
Oh, 100%.
That could do one of two things. They can form into that potential talent, or they could kind of waste it away. And there's nothing worse in this world than wasted talent.
100%.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I love that you're sharing your story and getting candid with us, because like that's where it's all about, or like that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, 100%.
So wrapping things up, I kind of want to, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and talking about, what your lows looked like coming out of there, what your highs looked like. Share us one more good story that, along your journey, like what is something that kind of really sticks out to you to this day that you're going to put in your archive, or that you've put in your archive of like happiness.
Archive of happiness. I mean, I guess it's just an ongoing story. Just constantly, it's like I said, every day, it's getting to the point where I'm constantly getting a couple DMs about people like enjoying my music, people showing up to shows and taking pictures with me. And then, I couldn't really just narrow it down to one thing, but I just want to say it's just these little things that continue to happen, and it just really inspires me just to keep going. And I hope to keep having these interactions and these memories. And I know, I mean, it's not really answering your question, but just in general, just to stay true to who you are and how you are as a person. People are gonna eventually find out if you're acting fake or whatever, but I genuinely have a connection with my fans and people that enjoy my content. You'll never catch me just chilling in backstage. Like whenever I play a show, I like to be in the crowd interacting with people and just getting to know them. And half the time they'll be like, why aren't you back there
enjoying
Yeah.
the producer life.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't, cause I was y'all one day, you know. That's why I tell them, like, I was you staring at these people and thinking in my head like, oh, this is something I want to do, and I think that alone is just a huge dream come true, and I feel like that it would inspire a lot of people as well. So I try to just keep it level and just do what I do. So
That's awesome, man. Well, once again, I really do want to thank you so much for being on here. Remember, guys, if you guys love this content, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Candid with Candia podcast. What's your socials?
Cause Dubs, KAUSEDUBS on everything.
There you go. Go ahead and follow them, guys. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you guys later.